Light rain was falling outside the window of my office in Ashland, Oregon, a small town nestled between rolling green hills, where the pace of life was slow, but full of vitality. I, Evelyn, 48 years old, sat behind my oak desk in the personal financial consulting space I had built from scratch. The walls were adorned with certificates and awards, each frame telling a story of late nights, hours of study, and clients I had helped turn dreams into reality, from saving for their children's college tuition to planning for a comfortable retirement. This office, with its scent of old books and the aroma of coffee from the machine in the corner, was my pride and joy, where I transformed dry numbers into hope for hundreds of people. That Friday afternoon in April 2025, I was reviewing files for a wealth management seminar, feeling at ease after completing a plan that helped a young family save tens of thousands of dollars. My phone buzzed on the desk. A message from my mother. Margaret appeared on the screen. I smiled, thinking it was a reminder about my parents' 50th wedding anniversary party the following weekend, an event our whole family had planned for months. But when I opened this message, my heart felt squeezed, as if the air in the room suddenly thickened. My mother's words were sharp, emotionless. "Evelyn, we've spoken to Charles. You don't need to come to the celebration. You've always been a burden, always demanding attention, while Charles has done 1,000,000 times more than you. He just bought us a vacation condo in Florida. And what about you? A desk job that's insignificant. Don't bother us anymore. Let this family have a happy day without you." Each word was like a knife, cutting not only into my self-esteem, but also trampling on the years I spent trying to prove my worth. Charles, my older brother, was always my parents' pride, while I, despite building a successful career, was still seen as not enough. I sat there, hands trembling, my vision blurring, but not from tears. I took a deep breath, feeling the warmth from the coffee mug in my hand, and whispered to myself, "They are wrong, completely wrong, and I will make them see that, not through excuses, but through actions that prove my true worth." I didn't respond to the message. Instead, I opened my laptop and checked the secret investment fund I had been preparing for a long time. Not for me, but for those who had called me a burden. What would you do if your family turned their back on you just because they couldn't see the light in you? I chose to respond, but this story is far from over, and what I discovered next changed everything. The cracks in my family weren't new. They had been there for a long time, like the tiny cracks on an old painting that you try to ignore, hoping it still holds its beauty. Growing up in Ashland, I was always the different child in my parents' eyes, Edward and Margaret. Charles, my 3-year older brother, was the perfect role model, smart, good at basketball, and later became a successful real estate developer. Every achievement of his, from school awards to multi-million-dollar contracts, was proudly displayed on the living room wall, like medals of honor. As for me, the times I scored well, delivered excellent presentations at school, or even earned a prestigious financial certification, received nothing but a casual nod or a comment like, "Good job, but don't get too proud." My mother had once said plainly when I was 20, "Evelyn, you need to face reality. You don't have the qualities Charles has. You don't have what it takes to make something big like him. So just find a stable job and don't dream of things beyond your capabilities." Those words, though nearly 3 decades old, were still as sharp as the first day I began to realize the favoritism when I was young. But I didn't want to believe it was rejection. I tried harder, worked harder, as if every success would make them see me differently. But when I turned 30 and opened my first financial consulting office, my father just laughed bitterly. "Paperwork job, Charles just built a resort. That's what changes the game." I smiled, nodded, but deep inside the pain began to form like an emotional debt that would never be repaid. The clearest sign came 3 years ago when I overheard my mother talking to a friend on the phone. "Evelyn, she's fine, but always needs our help. Luckily, Charles takes care of the whole family." Help. I had never asked them for a penny, never asked for help, and had paid off my own student loans. But I didn't confront her. Instead, I began to act quietly, like I did when building financial plans for my clients. I opened a separate account, transferred profits from my work into it without letting my parents or Charles know. I kept a detailed record of every time I was belittled, every hurtful comment like a ledger, not for revenge, but to remind myself that I deserved more than they thought. When my mother suggested I contribute to their home renovation fund, I agreed, but with only a small amount, just enough so they wouldn't suspect anything. In my heart, I had a bigger plan, a plan not to prove anything to them, but to prove it to myself. That message that day, calling me a burden, wasn't just the last straw. It was a fire that burned away any remaining illusions about family ties. Have you ever felt the world turn its back on you, just because you didn't fit the mold they wanted? I stood at that crossroads, and instead of collapsing, I chose to keep moving forward. But what I did next was what made everyone take notice. The rain continued to fall outside the window, but I no longer heard the sound of the droplets. My mother's message felt like an old wound being ripped open, and I knew I couldn't stay silent any longer. The next day, I received a call from my father, his voice stiff. "Evelyn, your mother made it clear that you don't need to come to the celebration, and we think that's the right choice, the best for everyone, since Charles has taken care of everything as he always does, and we don't want any drama to spoil this special day." I wanted to scream to ask why they always chose him, why I was never enough in their eyes, why the years I spent sweating to build my career were dismissed as a joke. But I simply replied, my voice calm, "You're right, Dad. I don't want to be a bother, and I understand that the family wants a joyful day. So I'll go along with your wishes. But I hope that one day you'll see that I am not who you think I am." When I hung up, I felt a fierce wave inside me, but not despair. It was determination. I called Sarah, my best friend from college, now a reporter for a local magazine. "Sarah, I need to talk. I need someone to listen and help me see things clearly," I said, my voice trembling but firm. My parents just called me a burden and told me not to come to their celebration because Charles, as always, did everything better, from buying them a vacation home to being the family's sole pride. I don't want revenge, but I need to do something so they can see they were wrong, so they understand that I am not his shadow. Sarah was silent for a moment, then responded, her voice full of sympathy but sharp. "Evelyn, I've seen how strong you are from the days we were in college, when you worked part-time to pay for tuition, to now when you've built a financial empire that everyone in Ashland respects, yet your family ignores. Do this your way, not with arguments, but with an action that proves they can't deny your worth. I'll be here to help, maybe an article about your journey, or a moment at the celebration to tell the truth, to let the whole town see who you really are." Sarah's idea was like a beam of light cutting through the rain. I started planning not just to face my parents, but to turn this pain into a statement. But the crisis wasn't over. A big client, the owner of a hotel chain, suddenly canceled our contract, claiming they'd heard that my office was untrustworthy. I was stunned until a colleague revealed that Charles had spread rumors calling my work amateurish when speaking to his partners. I sat in my office looking at the stack of bills and ledgers, feeling like the floor was collapsing beneath me. This wasn't just family rejection. It was an attempt to destroy the career I'd worked so hard to build. But then Sarah called back, her voice full of excitement. "Evelyn, I just spoke with the event organizers, and they've agreed to let you give a speech as a surprise for your parents, a moment for you to shine in a way no one expects." I smiled, even though my heart still felt heavy. "Do you think family can hurt you more deeply than an enemy?" I thought so, but what I discovered next left me more stunned than even my mother's message. I began digging deeper with Sarah, introducing me to a financial investigator named Leo, who specialized in uncovering secrets in transactions. "If Charles is playing dirty, there will be a trail," Leo said, his gaze sharp as a knife. Within 5 days, he brought me a report that almost made me drop my coffee. Charles hadn't just spread rumors about me. He had intentionally used his influence to turn partners against me, even contacted the bank to check my company's accounts, despite having no legal right. But the most shocking part was that my parents knew about it. An email between my mother and Charles, which Leo retrieved from an old account, showed they encouraged him to teach me a lesson because I was too arrogant with my desk job. My mother wrote, "Charles, you're right to protect the family. Evelyn needs to know her place. If her business fails, maybe she'll be more humble." I read it over and over, feeling like the blood in my veins had frozen. Not only did they reject me, but they wanted me to fail to prove they were right. My inner monologue exploded. They think I'm weak, not strong enough to stand with Charles, but they don't know what I've built. They don't know the sleepless nights I spent perfecting financial plans. They don't know the times I helped clients turn their dreams into reality. They want me to collapse. I'll rise and I'll make them face the truth, not with resentment, but with an action bigger than any recognition they refused to give me. I called Sarah, my voice resolute. "Sarah, I will go to the celebration, and I will bring a gift that my parents Charles and all of Ashland will never expect. A gift not only for them, but for me to prove that I am not the burden they think I am. Can you make sure your article is published right after the event, so the whole town knows the story doesn't end with the celebration?" Sarah laughed over the phone. "Evelyn, I'm ready, and I promise I'll make sure all of Ashland reads your story from your journey to the moment you'll leave them stunned. Have you ever discovered a secret that made you want to shout it out to the world?" I stood at that threshold, and the moment of confrontation was coming closer than I thought. My parents' 50th wedding anniversary took place in an elegant hall in downtown Ashland. With sparkling chandeliers and soft violin music, I entered. Wearing an elegant black dress holding a small red velvet box. The gift I had prepared, Charles was there, smiling brightly beside my parents, as if he were the center of the universe. My parents, Edward and Margaret, sat at the main table, their gaze sweeping over me as if I were a stranger. I wasn't shaking. When the MC invited me to speak, I saw Charles turn pale, and my mother whispered something to my father. I stepped up to the podium, scanning the crowd, and began. "Today we gather to celebrate 50 years of love between my parents, a milestone we all cherish. But I stand here not only to congratulate, but to tell a story about someone who was called a burden, told she wasn't good enough, not worthy enough to stand beside the family's pride." I plugged the USB into the projector, and the screen displayed my mother's message. "You have always been a burden. Charles has done 1,000,000 times more than you." The murmurs erupted. I continued, my voice sharp. "My parents think I just have a desk job, nothing to be proud of. Charles spread rumors to ruin my career, trying to make me fail to prove I'm not strong enough. But here's the truth. I am Evelyn Harper, a financial expert with a multi-million-dollar asset management office, helping hundreds of families achieve their dreams, from tuition funds for their children to secure retirement plans. And today, I'm giving my parents a $500,000 retirement fund, not because I need their recognition, but because I want them to see they were wrong, completely wrong, to call me a burden to think I couldn't achieve something great. I opened the box, pulled out the retirement fund contract, and placed it in front of them. My mother started crying. My father lowered his head, and Charles didn't dare look at me. The crowd clapped, not for the gift, but because the truth had been exposed. Do you think justice can come in the form of a gift? I did it, but my journey didn't end at that moment. Leaving the hall, I drove to the park near my house, where I used to play as a child. Sitting on a wooden bench, I let the tears fall, not out of anger, but from a deep sadness, when I realized my family had never truly seen me. I thought about my grandmother, who once said, "Evelyn, you are a treasure, even if others don't see it." Her words were like a flame warming me. That night, I wrote a letter to myself, promising I would never let anyone define my worth. That action, simple but powerful, felt like a turning point. The next day, my office was busier than ever. Clients came not just to sign contracts, but to tell me they were proud of me. But there were moments when I stood alone looking at my grandmother's photo on the desk, wondering if I had disappointed her by letting my family fall apart. Doubt crept in, but I opened her old notebook and saw the words, "Your strength lies in kindness, not recognition." I wiped away my tears and started a new day just as she would have. Have you ever found light in your darkest days? I found it, and it led me to a place I never expected. The hearing after the anniversary took place at the local courthouse, where I sued Charles for defamation and illegal interference with my work. He showed up wearing an expensive suit, but with a panicked look, like someone who knew they had lost. My lawyer, Nora, presented the evidence with the precision of an artist's emails between Charles and my mother's message calling me a burden, and documents from Leo proving Charles had contacted my partners to sabotage Nora set her voice sharp. Your Honor, my client, Mrs. Evelyn Harper, has not only been rejected by her family, called a burden in the very home she grew up in, but also intentionally sabotaged by her brother, who tried to destroy the career she built from scratch, a career that helped hundreds of families achieve their dreams. This is not a family matter, but a case of defamation and financial interference with clear, malicious intent. Charles' lawyer tried to argue, Your Honor, this is just a family misunderstanding. There was no intention to harm Charles, just wanted to protect his parents from unnecessary stress from his sister. But Nora smiled. Protecting by spreading false rumors, calling Mrs. Harper's work amateur to his partners, causing tens of thousands of dollars in damages. We have clear evidence from emails to transaction documents proving Mr. Harper's intentional actions. The judge turned to Charles. Mr. Harper, do you deny these emails? These actions you took to harm your sister? Charles stammered, I just wanted to help my parents. I didn't think it would go this far. I just didn't want them to worry about Evelyn. The judge cut him off by sabotaging your sister. The court orders you to pay $50,000 in damages and publicly apologize. As I left the court, I saw my mother standing in the hallway, her eyes red, but I didn't stop. I had won, not just for the money, but for justice. Do you think a victory can be sweeter when it comes from the truth? I felt that, but my story isn't over yet. A few weeks later, Charles tried to spread rumors that I had exploited the anniversary to shame the family. But Sarah's article published in the local magazine put an end to all the lies. Titled, From Burden to Beacon, The Journey of Evelyn Harper. The article told the story of my career, the $500,000 gift, and the truth about Charles' actions. Clients came back in greater numbers, and I received an invitation to speak at a national financial conference. My parents sent an apology letter with my mother's voice trembling through every line. Evelyn, we were wrong for not seeing what you have achieved, wrong for favoring Charles and calling you a burden. We are proud of you and we apologize from the bottom of our hearts for not recognizing you sooner. I read it, but didn't respond. Their recognition came too late, like a gift that had been returned. My office had now become the heart of the community where women came to learn how to manage finances and protect their dreams. One client, Linda, said, as she signed the contract, Evelyn, you've made me believe that I can stand up, that I can rebuild my life, even when my ex-husband called me useless, and the whole world turned its back on me. I smiled, feeling the strength spread. Have you ever thought that pain could turn into inspiration? I made it a reality, and I wanted more people to feel that I started a support group at my office where women shared their experiences of being underestimated and learned how to build financial independence. The group quickly grew, becoming a nonprofit organization with workshops on self-confidence and wealth management. One evening, I shared my story about the message calling me a burden. I once thought my worth lay in the eyes of my parents, in the recognition they never gave me. But I learned that our true value lies in what we do, the dreams we pursue, and how we rise after every fall. One member, Sophie, shared that she had escaped from a toxic family after hearing me say, "Evelyn, you've made me believe that I deserve more, that I can build a new life without needing recognition from those who can't see my worth." I organized a charity workshop, raising $100,000 for a women's center, and the event was talked about throughout Ashland. Even so, it wasn't always smooth sailing. Once a member criticized me for being too busy to lead the group, but I invited a financial expert to help, and the group became even stronger. Do you believe that a community can heal the deepest wounds? I have seen it, and it changed me forever. 2 years after that brutal message, I stood on stage at a financial conference in Portland, in front of hundreds of women with hopeful eyes. I shared my journey not to boast, but to inspire. My family called me a burden, thinking I wasn't good enough, not worthy enough. But I turned that pain into a $500,000 retirement fund for them, not because they deserved it, but because I knew my worth, and I wanted them to see that someone called useless could achieve far more than they ever dreamed. During the Q&A session, a young woman said, "My family calls me useless because I didn't follow the family business because I didn't do what they expected. How can I believe in myself? How can I move forward when everyone around me says I'm not good enough?" I replied. Start with one small step: a separate account to assert your independence, a new skill to nurture your dream, a moment when you tell yourself that you deserve it. Your value doesn't need anyone's recognition, just your belief, and those small steps will lead you to places you can't even imagine. The conference ended with a thunderous round of applause. But the moment I will always remember was when Sophie from the support group came up to hug me. "Evelyn, because of you, I started my own company, and I'm living the life I once thought was impossible. You are my light. You showed me I can shine." My office now has 3 branches with a team of 30 people and a brand that Forbes has mentioned. Charles lives in a small apartment doing odd jobs after losing his reputation. My parents live off the retirement fund I gave them, but rarely contact me. I keep my mother's message in a small frame next to the words, "Your value is a fire that no one can extinguish." At the 15th anniversary celebration of my office, I stood before my clients and community sharing. I once thought family defined me, but I learned that I define myself, and each of us has the right to paint our own life story. Life, like a financial plan, requires patience, strategy, and belief. There are days you feel invisible, but remember, you are the one who paints your future. Live positively, love yourself, and turn every pain into strength. What will you do to prove your worth, even when no one believes in you? I did it, and I know you can too.